and welcome to this week's BA Brew. I'm Kerry.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Debbie.
And in today's brew, we're going to be talking about the little nuggets of information that have had a positive impact on us or in our careers. So I think we should just jump straight into this one. So Lisa, let's come to you first, please.
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking about this, and there's so many different bits of information. And so many amazing mentors actually that I've had over the years when I think about these things that have stayed with me. I think one of the best ones, and it's probably quite an obvious one, but I'm going to mention it anyway. One of the best ones is where if you kind of understand what system you're working in. So, for example, if I use interviews or the recruitment process as an example, a colleague of mine said to me once, you've got to understand the system, you've got to understand how it works, what they're looking for, and be able to tick the boxes. And it was such a great bit of information. And actually, little things like using the CAR model or the STAR model, like we do in the apprenticeships for our portfolios, just using a simple technique like that just to help you through it and give you a bit of structure to your thoughts and your answers. So that was probably that's made such a big impact to me. I think it's just about knowing, just understanding the system you're working within, understanding the environment and the people. I don't know if anyone else has got any particular recruitment tips, but I think that was really quite life-changing for me because I then applied it to everything. And it just really helped. But, sometimes the obvious stuff really is helpful, isn't it? I think, and as well as people telling me things, you do obviously pick up your own things over the years that then you can pay forward to people perhaps you're mentoring or helping at work. And one for me is the importance of increments and on the pathway to success, because I didn't realise that when I was younger. I kind of want to do everything now, and actually life's not like that. The time increments, the time you put into things, just the effort, it really makes quite a difference to your trajectory, I guess. So I think if that's one thing, I'd probably say increments are really important. And it made me think of when I'm at the gym, on my favourite machine, there's a slogan that says, every workout counts. And I remember looking at that thinking, I don't think so. But actually, if you miss a couple of workouts, you really feel the difference when you go back. So I think that's just it's such an important thing. You don't realise how much impact one little thing or one action is doing until you stop doing it. But I think it's just a great piece, hopefully a great piece of advice. So how about you, Julie?
I think that was really interesting, actually, what you were kind of saying. It's almost the agile approach, isn't it? That iteration and improvement. But I think that one of the most profound things that I was ever told, which I didn't actually understand for years, and I'll be honest about this, was bring your authentic self to work. It sort of felt like a bit of a sort of slogan that you'd put on a mug or something. And then I think over the years, as I've got older, of course, what that actually really means in reality is you grow as a person. And of course, you're in a professional environment and you've got all of that experience of hopefully lots of things that have gone right, but also all the things that have gone horribly wrong as well, that you learn from and you grow from. And I think that applies to you as a person as well. You grow emotionally, you grow, that sort of just the ability to sort of be around people and understand people and work with them better. So I think that in context now, I think that really resonates with me because, the person that I've become personally really shouldn't be kind of separated from what I am at work. And if I am being asked, and I encourage anybody to sort of think about this, if I am being asked to change myself at work, why is that? And, actually that has become a bit of a warning sign for me. If I'm asked to sort of change my approach fundamentally about things where, I feel that I'm bringing my authentic self to work in a very collaborative and positive way, that maybe that business is not right for me. And I think that that's become very important as I've got a bit older. And I think that my other kind of real nugget, which is my one that I share very freely with whoever wants to hear it, is look after yourself first. And I think it's very important because over the last few years, I've been made redundant several times over, which is never a nice experience. But I think that what you kind of have to bring out of that is every business by necessity is about the business. And yes, you know, you hope businesses will look after you and look out for employees and treat you very well. But I think the thing is that that is not always the case with every business. And I think it's incredibly important to understand what is important to you as a person when you kind of go to work and what you're going to get out of work. Because I think that, you know, the reality is that, you know, redundancies are a matter of course for a lot of us these days. And so I think if you can kind of just keep yourself at the center, feeling kind of emotionally, mentally very healthy, that can only be a good thing for you and for the business as well, because it means that, you know, you're not trying to, it's no use killing yourself for any business, I think is what I've learned at the bottom line, you know, no matter how good that business seems to be.
No, I
Debbie,
totally agree.
yeah, Debbie, I don't know if you've got sort of any further thoughts on that, or if you can share something else with us.
That's really quite an interesting one that you've shared, Julie, because I think you're absolutely right. I mean, every business has to look after the business first, because everybody gains if the business is looked after first. And there have been, you know, really some sad stories of businesses that have failed over the last few years for various reasons. But if a business fails, that affects everybody who works for it. And so ultimately, one of the things I take out of that way of thinking as well is look after your career, you know, look after your skills. If you're given an opportunity to learn and develop and grow, grab it, because that opportunity could stand you in such good stead at some point. So that really sort of resonates with me. And that sort of links into one of the tips I was given, one of the messages I was given a few years ago that is going to sound quite harsh, okay? I started studying for my doctorate 12 years ago now, and I did finish it quite a few years ago, just in case anybody thinks I'm still studying after 12 years, because that would be mad. But on the very first day, the program leader said the following: you are going to find yourself in life, in work, during this period of study, when moments are going to seem very difficult and insurmountable. And I have a piece of advice for you. And the piece of advice is this: suck it up and get on with it. Okay.
Love it.
Now,
Yeah.
I like that.
That sounds quite harsh, doesn't it? It's like one of the best things anybody ever said to me. Because I'm sure we've all had moments, and I've had moments where I've sat with my head in my hands for various reasons, and in my ear comes the voice from this particular professor going, you have to suck this up. You can have a moment, but then you suck it up and you get on. And it's been the best piece of advice I was ever given, and I use it all the time. I don't know if anybody else, if that resonates with anybody else.
I think
Absolutely, yeah, it's just
fantastic. Yeah, I think it's like, because I'm sure we've all had those moments where you just say, you know, it doesn't matter how resilient you are, it doesn't matter how good you are at bouncing back from any situation, you want to curl up in a corner with a biscuit. And actually you can have that 5 minutes with a biscuit, and then when the biscuit's gone, you've kind of just got to get back up again. You know, it's that whole Chumbawamba thing, isn't it? You know, you get up, but you get up again. And I think actually that's a great piece of advice for anyone.
Yeah. What do you think, Lisa? Oh, sorry, Kerry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, some situations just aren't worth fighting for. Sometimes you do just have to sit back and go, okay, yeah, I'm just going to sit back, suck it up and move on, because whatever I say is not going to change the outcome or the situation. So sometimes you do just need to get over it and just, move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I think perfectionism's part of that as well, isn't it? Because, you know, if things haven't gone perfectly or the way we expected, we can beat ourselves up about that. But sometimes, like you said, Debbie, you just need to power through, to accept it for what it is and just move forward. But it's difficult to do that because we've got emotions that are involved, haven't we? You know,
It is. And that's where the biscuit comes in, I find. Okay.
Chocolate.
Sometimes are available.
Yes, that's right. Other products are available, but it does help. But it also sort of aligns with another tip and another concept that has come up so many times in my life. It's unbelievable. And people quite often say to other people, you've done really well. You are so lucky. Anybody ever had that said to you? You
Yeah,
are
it's not,
so
it's not,
lucky.
there might be an element of luck, but a lot of it's hard work, isn't it? A lot of it's,
Yeah.
you know, pure
Yeah,
hard work.
my mum always quotes, I think it was Tony Jacklin, but I could be wrong, the golfer. I'm sure it's a golfer who said, isn't it strange, the harder I worked, the luckier I got. And so the other piece of advice that I may have mentioned on a previous pod, I can't remember, but it's one that again resonates with me. And it was a comment that I heard on another podcast made by Wendell Pierce, the actor. And he said, when the going gets tough, the tough go to work. And I really believe in that. So that aligns with my suck it up thing, which is basically, yeah, there are moments that are difficult. There are moments where you think, I just do not understand this at all. Okay. Or I cannot deal with this situation or whatever. But I've always found that if I go to work and I put the work in, things improve and they get better. So that's my other aligned tip.
Yeah, and again, I think actually, I think it's a great way to look at it. But I think it's where that, you know, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time comes in as well. Because when those moments do come that you tend to sort of think, and how on earth do I move this forward? It's just looking at kind of what's the smallest thing that you can do first and breaking it down into those elements. Because I love those quotes that you used there, Debbie. And I think that there's a fabulous quote from Nora Ephron, who was a writer. You know, she wrote When Harry Met Sally, amongst many other things. And she talked about giving a talk to a group of female university students who were looking to break into screenwriting. And she said, you know, everyone was very eager and very keen and wanted to know kind of what the shortcuts were. And she said, but actually, you know, she said, thinking about it afterwards, it takes an enormous amount of effort and just keeping at it to make anything good happen for yourself. You know, that sometimes it's actually harder than you think it's going to be. And actually just staying there and just keeping going, I think is an enormous part of that. And I think that, you know, that's the bit that's the very unsexy bit of success, that just actually putting in those hard, long hours and actually failing is a huge part of that, and actually just accepting failure. One of my favorite things that I ever heard, actually, I used to work with a colleague who worked at British Airways in product development, and the thing I absolutely loved, they used to have a fail of the month. So the test or the development that had done that had just gone so horribly wrong, or just had completely reversed what they expected to achieve, that they celebrated that. It wasn't something to be hidden away. It was something to say, look, we did this thing for all the right reasons. It just went horrifically wrong. And here's what we learned out of it. And I think it's those lessons that you can kind of take forward. And I think it goes then back to your authentic self, because your authentic self has done some things that have gone horribly wrong, and therefore you've learned from it, and you can kind of help avoid that in the future. So I think it's kind of all of that stuff working together.
Yeah, it's funny, one of my stock phrases is keep on keeping on, and I say that to myself a lot, and I say it to other people. Yeah, Perry, finish us off with some great tip.
That's tough to follow that. One of mine actually was bit of great advice, which actually follows on from quite a lot of probably all yours put together, is to move forward, you do have to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think I went through sort of early, sort of on in my career, I went through sort of a little bit of a life change, and I was really shy. You know, the thought of standing up in front of people just horrified me. And I really wanted to do something for myself to change myself. And I was always into fitness and fitness classes, and I was, you know, regularly would go. And somebody just said to me one day, just like on a fleeting comment, it's like, you know, you'd be great standing up there and teaching a fitness class. You know, but I'd be horrified at standing up in a group in front of loads of people doing something like that. But actually, you know, by doing the training and getting all the knowledge and learning how to teach fitness classes and really sort of pushing myself out of my comfort zone, it's kind of like really helped me and helped build my confidence. And that's obviously in the fitness industry. And then if I bring it into my work environment, again, if you want to do like a presentation to somebody, again, the thought of it is like, oh, no, I can't do that. Actually, I think because I've done it once and really stepped out of my comfort zone and started doing fitness classes in front of a group of people, and then coming into work, and if somebody does ask you to do like a presentation, actually you kind of tried it once, so you've been in front of people. So I think the more you do something, the more confident you are at doing it. And I always think that's really good. So sometimes to move forward in life, I think you do have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, however scary that may be to you. I think it's always a good thing to do. If anybody else has experienced that. And then so that was one of mine. And then the other one that always sticks with me is having conversations, particularly at work, are really important. But I think you also need to write things down, especially important things in important projects or meetings, to write things down, even things like action points. When you're talking in a meeting, come up with action points. How many meetings have we been to where you've agreed something in like a workshop and actually gone away and then nothing happens to it? And then you kind of forget what the conversation was about and what the action was about. So I think for me, I always now try and follow up any meetings with action points or just a quick email out to all the recipients just to say, this is what we discussed. Is my understanding correct? Or does anybody need to add anything to it? I think that is always stuck with me as well, about writing things down. If anybody else has sort of had those experiences around.
I have to write things down. Yeah, definitely have to do. It does help to go back and actually read what you've written as well. It's I know it sounds daft, but when you're busy and back-to-back meetings and things, but yeah, you're right. If you make a point of writing stuff down and following up, it does make you feel a lot more organised. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think as well for me, when I write things afterwards, because I go back, I might make notes and then I go back and look at them, and then when I write them, my brain seems to tick into thinking mode as well. I don't know if anybody finds that, but as I'm writing the words, I'm coming up with other ideas and other thoughts and how I might go around addressing whatever the action is. So I find the actual process of writing helps me think in a very strange way. But I do find that really useful, because one of the things that we sometimes don't give ourselves enough time to do is to think. And thinking is really, really important, because otherwise everything is just reactive. And actually having some way that you use to think about things, and for me it is actually physically writing sometimes, it's really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually, because it's almost like, certainly I am, apparently all women can multitask. I really can't. And so I find that, it's almost like taking notes in a meeting. I can do it, but it's like completely, as you say, Debbie, it's my brain isn't in it really. It's almost like I'm taking down prompts so that my brain can pick it up later on. And the thing is, then I'm kind of, it does spin off in a different direction because I've got the prompt to sort of help me think. So I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I think we've all had some really good ideas. So here, so I hope that helps everybody. So I want to say thank you to Lisa, Julie and Debbie, and thank you to everybody listening. If anybody has any ideas for any future podcasts, please do let us know. Please contact us at babrew@AssistKD.com, and you can like and subscribe to us as well. So thank you.